Welcome back to Perkins Pipes. Got the Missouri Meerschaum Legend corncob pipe out today. Really a nice shape. Enjoy this guy very, very much. And this is a viewer response video, so can't wait to get into this and share with you what somebody said in a comment on a previous video that really inspired me and got me to thinking. So as always, let's get this guy lit. Let's get to talking. A while back, I had put out a video on the famous speech from the movie Gladiator with Russell Crowe and Joaquin Phoenix. I'm talking about the first one, not the second one. And it's a speech where he's in the arena, turns his back on the emperor, and the emperor commands him to turn around and announce who he is, and he turns around and he says, "I am Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the legions of the north," and goes through all of that business, and it's just really powerful. Talked about that in the video, and someone who goes by the name Parsimonious Piper shared this comment and says, "Powerful scene, because we recognize true virtue when we see it, ... and we want to see it in ourselves." And I replied, and there it is. Not only is that true and succinctly stated, but you have given me the topic for a future video. Thanks, my friend. So thank you to the Parsimonious Piper. Actually, I'm going to bring that back up again here. We recognize true virtue when we see it, and we want to see it in ourselves. We recognize true virtue when we see it, and we want to see it in ourselves. That's true. That's true. Think about it. We all sit and have these conversations, friends, family, about this, that, or the other thing, and, what's right and what's wrong and what's good and what's bad in society, and we love to go around all that. Sometimes dipping into political themes, sometimes getting into religious themes, and philosophical, and so forth. And we can sit and justify all sorts of things, can't we? All right, we can justify, well, you know what, stealing is wrong across the board, but if your children are hungry and you've got no food, you got to rob the grocery store for a loaf of bread, that's okay. And we do that, all right? And sometimes we'll question virtuous acts and say, well, maybe that really wasn't so virtuous. And we love to philosophize about that stuff. But when we see virtue in action, we recognize it. We recognize it. We can sit and have all the abstract conversations we want. But when you see that firefighter running back into the burning building to save someone, when you see a parent whose swimming abilities may not be that great, plunging into the water to rescue a child. And even if it isn't something as dramatic as all that, when you see somebody holding the door for an elderly person, or maybe following an elderly person to the parking lot, she or he's got their groceries, and you offer to say, hey, can I help you? Can I help you put that in the back of your vehicle? When we see those things, there's something that goes off inside us. I think Parsimonious Piper is right. We recognize virtue when we see it. And I would argue that for most of us, I mean, unless you're just so completely unself-aware, we get pricked in our hearts, and we want to be like that. We want to be like that. I'll tell you a story. Years and years ago, when my father-in-law was still living, we'd gone to a hospital to visit him. And there was a fellow walking around, and he just offered to sit with families, pray with them if they wanted. If one of them needed to run out and go get a coffee or something, he would sit with their family member in the hospital. And he had little business cards that he'd printed out. He called himself the Sunshine Man. S-O-N, because he was a Christian, and talking about Jesus as the Son of God there. He called himself the Sunshine Man. And the neat thing was, my wife recognized him. He had been one of her math teachers back in school. And now that he's retired, this is one of the things he did. And I want to tell you, friends, that has stuck with me for years. It's proof that Parsimonious Piper was right. I saw virtue. I recognized virtuous behavior in this man. And I was touched by it. And I want to see that virtuous behavior in myself. I've long thought, is that something that I may do at some point in my life? Would I ever just go around? I don't know. Maybe I will. But on the hospital floor, just to bring a little bit of cheer, sit with somebody who doesn't have somebody to sit with them, sit with a family, cover them while they run out and do something that they need to do, but knowing that their loved one has someone to sit with them. Yeah, that inspired me. So let's talk about that. Virtuous behavior. Does it inspire you when you see it? Do you well, let me ask it this way. Are you living life slowly enough that you can even notice virtuous behavior when it passes in front of you? Do you notice it? What's your reaction when you do? Does it cause you to maybe offer up a quick prayer of thanksgiving to God? Thanks for that person who's behaving virtuously. Does it inspire you to go and do something similar or likewise? Where do you see virtuous behavior? Now, I give you one example there of the Sunshine Man in the hospital. I see virtuous behavior all the time. I see it with colleagues at my school. I see it in the way that they stay after and support students, or come in early to support students, or write letters of recommendation for students. I see it there. My son at one time mowed the grass and took care of the leaves for the two neighbors on either side of us as they got elderly. Then when he went off to college, I watched as one of the neighbors moved, and younger people moved in, but the other neighbor is elderly, and there's another young man in the neighborhood who now mows the grass. I see it there. I've seen it in my wife. My wife, the number of times she's had the experience in the grocery store where someone has come up to her, and, I mean, they know she doesn't work there. I mean, she's pushing her cart like everybody else. But somehow she just exudes something, and people will come up to her and say, do you know where I can find such and such? Very often it's a man. All right, let's just be honest. A lot of men don't know their way well around the grocery store, especially an elderly man. Perhaps his wife always did the grocery shopping, and now he has to, because she is no longer able, or is no longer with him. And he'll come up, the older guy will come up and ask my wife, do you know where I can find the butter? Do you know where I can find the bologna or whatever? And my wife is always gracious to point it out, or very often just take the person over and show them where it is, take a little bit of time to do that. So I see it there. I see it sometimes in the news. Not all the news is bad. I see it in movies and television. I see it in stories that I read, fiction that I read. Where do you find the virtuous behavior that inspires you? So thank you to Parsimonious Piper for that. I love that comment. Folks, as Malcolm Guite likes to say, I do these little things in order at last to do nothing. Or as I say in Latin, Parva ago ut tandem, nihil agam. Have a wonderful day.